good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This morning, I'm really thrilled and honored to have with me as my guest Brian Anderson, who's a partner at Sheppard Mullin. Brian, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Richard. Happy to be here.
So, Brian, I have been trying to get you as a guest for a very long time. You probably didn't even know that. You have one of the more interesting sports and advertising practices that I have come across. So I'm really excited to have you on my show.
Oh, thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into this niche practice of sports and advertising.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've always been incredibly passionate about the sports industry, the business of sports, and in particular soccer. I started out, I think, a lot like you, as a tech and commercial transactions lawyer, privacy, data security, those types of things here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. But I was always trying to learn and sought out projects and clients in the sports industry. And the opportunity came up when my firm, Sheppard Mullin, asked me to lead the advertising team here. So started doing a lot of sports sponsorship work, mostly on the brand side. So representing global brands like Adidas and MasterCard and TaylorMade, doing a lot of their sports sponsorship work. And then from there, it just sort of took off into representing teams and leagues and investors and all in the sports industry. But that's where it started, is doing sort of brand side sports sponsorship deals.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is your interest in sports? Were you an athlete yourself? Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me your background about that.
Yes. So I grew up playing soccer at a pretty decent level, just completely obsessed with the game as a kid, and had an opportunity to move to the Netherlands when I was 16 to play in the academy system there. I was convinced I was going to be a pro soccer player in Europe. But as I like to say, I just wasn't able to convince anybody else. So I had to rethink my future a bit. But when I was in the Netherlands for 2 years, from 16 to 18 years old, went to the international school there for a year, really sort of like changed the focus of my life, really more towards academics and, the future and business and those sorts of things, and really kind of changed the trajectory of my life. Came back, went to college, played soccer in college a little bit, and then on to law school, but have continued to play soccer and continue to just be completely obsessed with the game.
Well, how does one, I mean, after not having a successful athletic career, how did you get steered into law though? I mean, how did that follow?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading a lot and like kind of just drawn to the classes that interested me. Like I was really drawn to like philosophy and logic and political science, history, my strengths definitely were more in sort of reading and writing versus like math and engineering and the sciences. And I had a couple of great roommates in college who were also going to law school. So sort of like the three of us, did the applications and stuff together. And yeah, it seemed like a really good fit for what I wanted to do.
Yeah, interesting. Now, you mentioned that in addition to just being an athlete, you also are really interested in the business of sports. Now, tell me a little bit of that, because most athletes I know, I mean, they like playing it, but they don't really care about the business at all. What is it about the business side of it that interests you?
It's just kind of intuitive to me, the business of sports versus like other industries. Like I just feel like I kind of get it a little bit, and maybe that's from being involved in the academy system as a kid, to understanding doing sponsorship deals, so kind of understanding the commercial side of professional sports. But I can just listen to podcasts and read about it all day, every day, and just find it like endlessly fascinating. And then have been, able to personally, be involved in a few professional sports organizations. So kind of seen it on that side of it too. It really, kind of living it makes it that much more real and that much more interesting. But yeah, I've always been fascinated by it, and it's a really exciting time to be in this industry as well. Like we're seeing some really, interesting things going on with media rights and, name, image, likeness for college athletes, AI, NFTs, blockchain. Like there's just so much going on in the industry that makes it really exciting, I think.
Well, can you describe some of the more interesting deals you've done? I know some of them maybe you can't talk about, but are there ones that you've done that you can talk about, just kind of more interesting that kind of stand out to give me a feel for the kinds of stuff you've done?
Yeah. So for me as a soccer player slash fan, like I had the opportunity to do MasterCard's sponsorship deal with Lionel Messi. And so the opportunity to negotiate that deal with Messi's agent and business manager, who's also his father, and being so close to the superstar, maybe the greatest player of our generation, that was really exciting. And then more recently on the team side, I'm representing the investor group that's bringing an NWSL, so the first division of professional women's soccer, bringing a team to the San Francisco Bay Area. And that's been a very exciting project in a lot of different ways. Like first as the father of two soccer playing girls, it's really exciting. Two, it was a project where I got involved with the original investor group when it was very grassroots and small, and to see it go all the way through to a $50+ million expansion fee, like significant investment in a women's professional soccer team, which is just so exciting. And it's really a cutting edge deal in a lot of ways in terms of institutional ownership, the amount of investment into a professional women's team. It just makes it a really exciting project. That will kick off in the 2024 season. Very excited about that. And then maybe on a smaller scale, more recently, representing a league, a women's professional soccer league, a new league. And that's been really interesting to really be at the very beginning. Like, how do we want to structure this league? Is it a franchise model? Is it a single entity model? Like, what are the rules for the teams? What's the expansion fee? What's the rule book? What's the handbook? Like, how do we protect players? Just to be able to sit and think about all those really big picture issues, I think is pretty unique. You don't really get that opportunity very often to launch a new professional sports league. So that's been a cool project too.
Interesting. Now, what other sports do you have you dabbled in? I mean, obviously soccer, that's your passion. You played soccer, but how about give me the idea of some of the other sports you've done deals in.
For me personally, like on the sponsorship side, I mean, we've done deals with every major sports team, every major league, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, European soccer. We've done NASCAR sponsorships, we've done Formula One sponsorships. We do a lot of like labor and employment work for teams in the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL. So it's really a broad practice, and it crosses all of the major sports. Currently just got a new project in Major League Rugby, so working on a few different things in rugby now. So yeah, we really cover all the sports.
In your world, for the stuff you've done, do you find that the sports leagues is really, really different between soccer and hockey and stuff like that, or what is it really, really different, or is there a high amount of overlap? What is your experience with that?
It's a little bit of both. I think there's a high level of overlap, especially because I think a lot of the in-house lawyers at teams and leagues will move around a little bit and cross sports. So they'll take what they learned at the NFL and they'll take it to Major League Soccer, or something like that. So we do see a little bit of overlap. I think what's really interesting is some of these, emerging leagues may not be the right word, or challenger leagues might not be the right word, but like newer leagues, right? Like, so Major League Rugby, for example, or Major League Soccer, where they, over the last 10 years, they've seen a tremendous amount of growth, and they're putting in the systems and policies and checks that were in place that are already in place in the older, more established leagues like the NFL, Major League Baseball. So you see them sort of like professionalizing or their standards going up and up as their league evaluations, the importance like all keep going up as well. So that's been really interesting to see.
Have you ever thought, reflected on in your whole career, like when you gave up being an athlete, which I'm sure was disappointing, that you could somehow work that back into a new profession? I mean, that must be an amazing, you sitting now have this established practice that you got to incorporate something that you love doing and still love doing into your profession. Isn't that a great feeling?
It is a great feeling. I mean, I always wanted to combine the two. And so where I really, owe a lot to Sheppard Mullin, candidly. Like, the firm has always been incredibly supportive of me wanting to do work in sports or in adjacent areas, or pivoting the practice a little bit more away from tech and commercial towards sports. So, they always gave me the resources and the support and the encouragement to do it. And even on the personal side too, where I'm on the board of directors of a professional soccer team in North Carolina, the fact that the firm was, okay with that, supported me in that, like, has been incredibly helpful. So it's something I've been very intentional about, but also I've been in a place that has given me the freedom to do things like that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Have you ever thought, I mean, obviously you have a terrific practice and successful career. Have you ever thought you might want to try, actually being like an in-house lawyer for a team? Is that something that like would ever be of interest to you, so you can actually see it from the other side?
Yeah, it's definitely crossed my mind. Like, I'm always like, I'm always very impressed with a lot of the lawyers I work with on the other side, working with teams, whether they're on the other sides of deals or if they're in-house at some of my clients. I'm very privileged to represent teams like Arsenal and Chelsea Football Club, and I am so impressed and can see how interesting and fun that would be. So yeah, I'm always, have been interested in that. Also very interested in like the business side of sports. I've also just been learning a lot from the deal makers, the business folks at leagues and teams and agencies, and seeing what they're doing is always very interesting for me too.
Now, in addition to being an athlete, do you also enjoy watching sports? I mean, not all athletes like to watch sports, but how about you? Do you like to watch sports?
I love to watch sports. Like, I love going to live sporting events, which I think there's going to be like a tremendous amount of growth in, experiential side of the business, like people wanting to go to games and go to tournaments and go to sporting events. But like, I love, like, if I have a meeting in a city somewhere, I'm always checking to see if there's a baseball game or a football game or a hockey game or a soccer game that I can squeeze into as well. I had a meeting, a business meeting in Seattle this weekend, and I was like, great, the Seattle Sounders are at home, so we'll meet at 5 o'clock, and then we can go watch the Sounders play.
That's funny. Now, I understand you're also an investor in the sports club. Is that something you can talk about, or?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm on the personally, I'm on the board of directors of a team in North Carolina called Carolina Core. They will play in MLS Next Pro, so the second division of Major League Soccer. New team, and they'll kick off in the 2024 season. Incredible ownership group, led by an amazing woman named Megan Oglesby. And it's all about community development, economic development. And it's just, something I'm really proud to be a part of and excited to contribute to. And then I'm also an investor in a EFL League One professional soccer team in England. So that's two levels below the Premier League. And again, just an incredible learning experience, to see both on the commercial side and the sporting side, to be involved as an investor and an owner of the team, and dealing with things like season ticket sales and sponsorship sales, and on the player side, like going through player acquisition, player sales, building a roster, thinking about head coach, those sorts of things. It's just been an incredible learning experience, and I would say has made me a much better lawyer in the sports industry, to kind of understand it from an investor's point of view, from an owner's point of view. There's things that I just notice now in terms of walking into a stadium and seeing all the different sponsorship assets and how the stadium's being commercialized and monetized. It's just totally opened my eyes up to things like that, which I think gives me a big advantage when I'm negotiating a sponsorship deal on behalf of my client, and those sorts of things.
Do you still play soccer? Do you still play soccer yourself now?
I do. I play once a week in what my wife likes to call a geriatric league, and I love it. I tell this is what I say about it every time, but it's the truth. Like, we play on Wednesday nights. On Thursday morning, I wake up and I quit. I'm never playing again. Like, I'm sore. I got too frustrated, and like, I don't like how that feels. I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. And then by Monday, Tuesday the next week, I can't wait to play again. I'm so excited to get back out there.
Do you coach your girls' soccer team, or you don't do that, or you do that?
Yeah. I've coached both my girls. The older one, she's 14. She plays at a pretty high level now, so I don't coach her. She has professional coaches now. But my younger one, who's 12, I still coach her team, and yeah, that's a blast too. I love doing that.
Well, Brian, it's been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time. Like I said, you have one of the more unusual practices I've come across. If you do ever decide to go and do something else or join a professional sports team or something like that, please come back and tell me about it.
I will. Thank you, Richard. I love your podcast, and I'm really honored to be on it today. So thank you very much.
This is Richard Hsu and Brian Anderson. Thanks.